So, everyone's favourite online vitamin salesman, Alex Jones, has been ordered to pay over $4 million in damages to the victims of the Sandy Hook massacre's parents. It's because years ago, Jones made the error of saying that Sandy Hook was a false flag attack with crisis actors. Of course it wasn't, and he's since walked that back. But it's less interesting about the fact that Jones has made this concession, made this error, and has to make a payment now, and more about also the malpractice that's been going on at trial from Jones's own lawyers, the activist judge, and somewhat of a smarmy prosecution team. But first, if you'd like to subscribe to LotusEaters.com, you can see the ramblings of our very own 19th century madman when Nick and I covered Fyodor Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground in our
Nick's
book club.
not that old, come on.
Well, if you'd like the crazy conspiratorial thoughts of someone from pre-revolutionary Russia and some discussion of Nietzsche and Peterson and all sorts of other remoralizing philosophies, you can go and check that out. So, in the Alex Jones defamation case, yesterday the judge ordered Jones to pay $4.1 million in damages to Sandy Hook victims and their parents. The compensatory damages are awarded to the plaintiff to offset their loss, but most of this will be done in punitive damages, and the reason is compensatory damages can be claimed in a bankruptcy lawsuit, and Jones has technically filed for bankruptcy for InfoWars, even though his revenue stream is still going on. It seems to be a similar move that Trump did when he folded one company, filed for bankruptcy, he could get tax write-offs, etc. Especially considering after he was taken off of social media.
Some kind of business ninjutsu that I'm not particularly familiar with, the actual process of how it works.
Accountancy genius, yeah. Well, obviously his income stream has taken a substantial hit after he was removed from Facebook, from YouTube, etc. And other than if you get YouTube's official say-so, like Tim Pool or Joe Rogan do, you can't even invite him on your show, really. But the punitive damages don't work the same way. Punitive damages are awarded not because the compensatory damages are set out as we have lost X amount of money, we can prove this, whereas the punitive damages are meant to be for a deterrent or a punishment. It's more of a moral crime to stick on top of it, to say, you acted in malice or such ignorance that it caused damage, therefore to an outward societal standard, we don't want anyone to do the same mistake again, and so we're making an example out of you. And most of these will be on punitive damages, so he can't claim it on his bankruptcy. The jury therefore likely loaded it to make him not be able to avoid paying it. So if we go on to the next one, Judith Hartley Brewer was actually celebrating this verdict, and the reason I pulled this up, Carl brought this tweet to my attention, but I was actually listening to her show in the early morning on Wednesday, and a direct quote that she said was, "Alex Jones is one of the worst people on earth, aside from those that actually rape and murder people."
That's quite the assertion right there.
Yeah, well, obviously Jones has said something reprehensible here, and even Tim Pool, who covered this recently, said, "We like Alex as a friend, he's funny to have on, but this was obviously a misfire and I can criticise him when he does something wrong. And no matter how we may find the Frogman very funny, this was obviously a reprehensible thing to say, and he has said so himself."
Well, of course.
But as much as I like Julia, for example...
Well, you've interacted with her personally many times.
I've done her show from that very seat. This is hyperbolic nonsense, and to sit there and say he should be prosecuted even further for something he's admitted he's done very much wrong, and that actually the justice system are these pure moral arbitrators in this circumstance is quite not the case, unfortunately.
I will say here, as much as I like Julia most of the time, this does seem to be basically a very shallow take. Just sort of going with where she expects the winds to be blowing in terms of general public opinion.
When she has done that before in some American legal cases, we've obviously covered the George Floyd verdict on this podcast and how there were more than just a knee on a neck for 9 minutes and racial hate crimes involved, and Officer Fentanyl might have caused an overdose, but she didn't take that. She took very much the court line, and obviously it's a symptom of being caught in the news cycle, not having enough time sometimes.
And also the fact that it's so far away from where we're reporting from over in England, the information can be distorted.
Yeah, we could even be guilty of that sometimes ourselves, but that's why we need to take a closer look at this and watch the first-hand clips. So we're going to move on to the next one. Just to remind you, Jones had a long-standing record of correcting the record on this, and we're not going to play the clip, but I'll just read the little transcript. So this is when Alex Jones returned to the Joe Rogan Experience, and right at the start, Joe made a specific point to challenge him on this. So Jones said, "I believe mass shootings happen. They're real tragedies. I believe Parkland happened." Joe Rogan said, "And you believe Sandy Hook happened?" Jones said, "Absolutely." Rogan, "Did you ever say you think it's not real?" Jones, "Yes, I did." Rogan, "But now you think it's real." Jones, "There were some of the anomalies that were not accurate, but yes, I do."
Yeah, I mean, I remember listening to this podcast when it came out, and there was a significant portion of it was dedicated to Alex Jones, just repeatedly saying over and over again, yes, I was wrong. What I said was wrong. I have apologized for that, and I'm going to apologize again right now. I shouldn't have put all of that attention on the parents who were so obviously devastated by what had happened. So he has repeatedly gone on the record to make it clear that he made a mistake and that he's apologizing for it. That doesn't clear up, obviously, the initial repercussions of that mistake that may have gone towards the parents, but to act as though he's still behaving like he was in 2014 when this originally went down is ridiculous.
Yeah, he might have. The parents might have incurred some extra security costs, because he says in here that people showed up to their homes, accused them of faking the incident, and of course that's going to be incredibly traumatic when you've just lost a child to a psychopathic murderer. And so Jones has taken responsibility for this and done his apology tour, and I think it's fair, perhaps, to have a defamation lawsuit against him being brought, but the way in which it is brought, I think, is worthy of criticism. And again, this comes from a place of people who actually like watching his sparse appearances. I don't watch The Daily Show, mainly because it's about 4.5 hours and most of it's adverts. But when he's on things like Tim Pool and Joe Rogan, he is a source of occasional brilliant prophecy and always hilarious memes. On this one, he got it wrong. So it doesn't look like he's actually going to have much trouble paying this, because in a recent podcast, if we go to the next one, with Michael Malice, and there's nothing to play here, but in this, he spoke about, and I don't want to get the details wrong, because he said he can't really talk about how it came about, but he received an anonymous Bitcoin donation of multiple millions, and it was almost the exact amount he needed to keep InfoWars afloat that was in the hole, and he doesn't know who sent it to him.
Oh, very interesting.
So it seems like he's all right financially, he just doesn't particularly...
He might also be at the centre of an actual conspiracy there.
Yes, and so we can't say too much on that until he divulges more information or receipts.
I'm just going to say it's Soros, funding both sides.
Disavow. So if we go on to the next one, so the treatment has been, the sort of media circus around the trial is what has taken a lot of the imagination. If we can just play this clip from the start.
Have we got the clip up, John?
If not, that's fine. Oh, no. So, okay. So basically, Jones was saying that in the Twitter page, he was saying that the press is a witch hunt, you're forfeiting your Fourth Amendment rights, and that he was subsequently, because of this, the judge actually barred him from talking to the press. And
even though what he's saying is obviously true, that this is a complete show trial.
Yes, and to be fair, this isn't. He's not actually discussing the intimate details of the case, like the jury description or anything like that.
He's giving his opinion.
Exactly. But there is a, how should we say it? The judge isn't being super fair or transparent. So yeah, if we go to the next clip, then this is the judge scolding him and censoring him like a school teacher.
Mr. Jones, you may not say to this jury that you complied with discovery. That is not true. You may not say it again. You may not tell this jury that you are bankrupt. That is also not true. You may have filed for bankruptcy. I don't know that, but I've heard that. That doesn't make a person or a company bankrupt. You're already under oath to tell the truth. You've already violated that oath twice today in just those two examples. It seems absurd to instruct you again that you must tell the truth while you testify, yet here I am. You must tell the truth while you testify. This is not your show. You need to slow down and not take what you see as opportunities to further the message you're wanting to further. And instead, only answer the specific and exact question you have been asked. No asides. The comments about discovery, the comments about the larynx or whatever it was, the comments about bankruptcy, none of those were responsive to questions. They were just you abusing my tolerance and making asides to the jury improperly and in at least two cases, untruthfully. Do you understand what I have said? Yes or no? Do you understand what I have said?
Yes, I believe what I said was true. So
Yes, you believe everything you say is true, but it isn't. Your beliefs do not make something true. That is what we're doing here. Just because you claim to think something is true does not make it true. It does not protect you. It is not allowed. You are under oath. That means things must actually be true when you say them. Don't talk. You understand what I have said.
I do understand.
You understand the instructions I have given you for your testimony in court.
Yes.
Oh my God, that sigh at the end. I wish that we didn't have to censor ourselves, because I would have a few choice words about that
Well, I just think
condescending bleep
it's
of a woman.
an amazingly transphobic statement.
There is also
just
that.
because you believe it's true doesn't mean it's actually true. Just because you say you're a woman doesn't mean you're a woman. And this is so cruel to the postmodern gender activists that outside the courtroom, I'm not shocked that this judge should be reprimanded by the activists that she so clearly courts. And if we go to the next link, John, she herself is an activist, because it turns out that she's a Democrat that's supported by a lot of workers' unions and communist front groups, etc.
Oh wow, what a shock. Why is she able to preside over this court hearing?
She was.
Surely there's an obvious conflict of
Well,
interest.
yeah, you would think so, especially considering she keeps jumping down Jones's throat. At one point, when he's talking about the larynx, he has a persistent cough. I assume because he's been shouting on his show all day, and they keep castigating him for it and saying he's faking. And then also,
Alex Jones often coughs.
yeah,
All
exactly.
the time.
He says,
Whenever I've seen clips of him, he'll like clear his throat and
Yeah.
cough constantly. Can I just say as well that what she was saying there, that whole just because you think it's true doesn't make it true. It's like, one, she's referring to a lot of information that she probably has no actual in-depth knowledge
Yes.
about, where Alex Jones probably does. And two, she's referring to, you're not bankrupt, you have filed for bankruptcy. I don't really know, I just heard about it in the news. So okay, why are you even commenting on this when you've just admitted that you don't actually know anything that you're talking about, Maya?
Well, there's another hilarious thing as well, is if you contrast this to the Johnny Depp hearing, for example, which was also defamation. When Heard's lawyers got up and started reading out those articles on the stand and kept asking Mr. Depp, have you read that right? And didn't go into the depth of the article. When Alex tries to say on the stand in his story, I've read something, rather than allowing the lawyers to object, she jumps in and cuts him off and says, no, that's hearsay. There's nothing you can say in print is hearsay. And he goes, well, I can enter the article into the evidence if you'd like, Your Honour. And she just goes, nope, there's nothing to do with hearsay. You can't say that. You can't say if it's in print, if it's read. And so she is acting like a prosecuting attorney. It's utterly unprofessional.
Well, yeah, this is obviously judging by the choice of judge, the way that it's being displayed on social media and online, and a number of other things. This is a rigged show trial, as far as I'm concerned. That's just my opinion.
I think a lot of it is performative for the cameras. I think, again,
absolutely, they want to emasculate and denigrate Alex Jones to a mass audience
as an icon. Yeah, as a totem of the dissident right and the online conspiracy theory echo chamber.
Over mistakes that he made 8 years ago that he's already profusely apologised for. And already been on trial for other parents as well who have sued him over it.
And we'll get into other trials of Alex Jones slightly later. If we can go to the next one, we're not going to play any clips of this, but I did just want to point out. So Alex had said that this woman's husband, who she was separated from, one of the fathers of the Parkland victims, is a slow talker. He might be a bit on the spectrum, something like that. And they used this to blow it up out of proportion and say you're disrespecting the parents, etc. I think it was probably just an off-the-cuff comment. It might have been a bit tasteless, but whatever. But I wanted to point out as well that on the other side to this, if you're looking at pure optics, this woman, when you go and watch her testimony, it's linked in the description. I didn't play it for time, but she has clearly learned her story, and it's beat by beat, and it came across very much like when Amber Heard's telling the story of the dirty carpet and keeps coming back to the motifs. She tells this story about her child. The last time she saw him was on the day as a single mother. She dropped him off, and it was the Connecticut snow, and it was cold, and he was drawing hearts and I love you into the side of her car, and she took a photo, and that was the last time anyone ever saw him, and I'm sorry. And it's like, I obviously have severe compassion, and perhaps learning it like a script is a way to get through the trauma, but it comes off as very inauthentic and artificial. And the problem is, it was very genuine tragedy for her, but contrasted with the way they are hounding Jones, it actually looks bad for the establishment here.
I wouldn't be surprised if optically it doesn't look great, but I will say, obviously, the last day that you spend with your child while they're alive, I can understand, retracing those moments in your head over and over again to the point where it might come across like you've scripted them. I don't doubt that this trial is once again just for pure show.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be going and
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that she's artificial or scripted as if she's making it up. She's definitely
And
not.
for one, we might get sued for it.
Exactly, and but that's just not true. Exactly, it's obviously is a pure tragedy that happened to her. I'm just saying, in terms of how she has been instructed by the prosecution team to come across on the stand, because of course they do witness prep and things like that, is they've made her seem quite wooden, whereas Jones seems he's constantly on the back foot by a judge that is constantly berating him because she's an activist. If we go to the next one as well, his own lawyer has fallen down on the job, and the judge again jumps down the throat of Owen Schroyer, and they're prosecuting him, and the lawyer gave such bad advice that Schroyer...
And this is Jones's lawyers?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They gave Schroyer advice that he can talk about the trial outside of the courtroom, even though he was under
That's
court
not
order not
true.
to. So he went on the show the next day and immediately started talking about the details, and now they're threatening to hold Jones's lawyers and Schroyer in contempt of court. And Schroyer was like, well, I didn't know this. And Jones's lawyer is an ex-federal prosecutor, apparently. So he should know the law. But
is there any reason that we know that, because I know that Robert Barnes defended Jones in some of the other court cases, is there any reason we've been given as to why he wasn't
I don't know why he
back
wasn't
onto this?
involved. I suppose if someone does know, they can leave it in
Because,
the
like, when I
comments,
was
but-
watching a lot of the coverage of Rittenhouse's trial last year, Robert Barnes showed up with Rakita Law and a bunch of other people and spoke a lot about the Alex Jones trial as well and his experiences in that, to discuss some certain details. And it made it seem like Robert Barnes does not seem like he would be unwilling to defend Alex Jones again in a court of law.
Well, I would have advised him, if I had a time machine, to go back in time and hire Barnes, because his legal team is abysmal, and we will see exactly why in the next clip. This is probably the most headline-grabbing moment of the whole trial, where his team accidentally leak his entire phone and email contents history to the prosecutors.
What? Okay.
Mr. Jones, you know how an iPhone works, right? You've had iPhone text messaging for several years now.
Yeah.
What does it mean if the messages are in blue? Whose
I don't-
messages are those? Whose phone is this taken from?
I don't know who's supposed to take it from. I mean, I turned the phone over and said, take the stuff off.
Can I have you look in the very bottom below the very bottom left corner? Is that your phone number?
Yes. So you did get my text messages. And it said you didn't. Nice trick.
Yes, Mr. Jones.
Oh.
Indeed.
Is this
You
his
didn't
own
get
lawyer
this
he's
text message
talking
to.
to?
You don't know where this came from. Do you know where I got this?
No.
Mr. Jones, did you know that 12 days ago, your attorneys messed up and sent me an entire digital copy of your entire cell phone with every text message you've sent for the past 2 years, and when informed, did not take any steps to identify it as privileged or protect it in any way. And as of 2 days ago, it fell free and clear into my possession. And that is how I know you lied to me when you said you didn't have text messages about Sandy Hook. Did you know that?
I told you the truth. This is your Perry Mason moment. I gave them my phone, and then,
Mr. Jones, you need to answer the question.
No,
Did you know this happened?
no, I didn't know this happened. But I mean, I told you I gave them the phone over.
Just
And
answer
you
the
said,
question.
you said in your deposition, you searched your phone. You said you pulled down the text, did the search function for Sandy Hook. That's what you said, Mr. Jones, correct?
And I had several different phones with this number, but I did, yeah. Well, of course, I mean, that's why you got it.
No, Mr. Jones, that's not what happened.
My lawyer sent it to you, but I'm hiding it. Okay.
Mr. Jones,
Mr.
please just answer questions. There's no question. Mr. Bankston also only asks questions.
Sure. Mr. Jones, in discovery, you were asked, do you have Sandy Hook text messages on your phone? And you said no, correct? You said that under oath, Mr. Jones, didn't you?
I mean, if I was mistaken, but you got the messages right there.
You know what perjury is, right? I just want to make sure you know before we go any further. You know what it is.
Yes, I do. I mean, I'm not a tech guy. I told you, I gave in my testimony the phone to the lawyers before, whatever, and so you got my phone, but we didn't give it to you.
No, Mr. Jones. One more time. And please remember, if you need to assert the Fifth Amendment, you can. I need to know that you can do that. But you testified under oath previously that you personally searched your phone for the phrase Sandy Hook and there were no messages. You said that under oath.
Yes.
And you lied when you said it.
No, I did not lie.
Jesus Christ.
I know. I apologise for the slightly long clip there, but I just had to play it in full because the exchange is shocking.
Remarkable.
Well, the lawyer is next to Bingham, who was involved in the Rittenhouse trial, the most disconcertingly smug, smarmy, self-important person I've ever seen cross-examine a witness. And I'm a bit of a true crime and legal buff, so I've watched quite a few trial coverage, and this is just terrible. Also, Jones, the fact that his lawyers didn't claim attorney-client privilege over the communications is shocking. So they leaked his entire communications history
To the
prosecutors. Yes. And then his lawyer did nothing for him there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jones, well, let's put it this way. I think Jones would not want to deprive the families, if he's smart, of their payment, because, of course, he doesn't have anything against the families. But I wouldn't be surprised if he at least brought something against his own counsel for insufficient provision of counsel. Because
I bloody hope so.
yeah, because they could
Christ.
have accidentally got Owen Schroyer a contempt of court charge, him a perjury charge if somehow they can prove malice, which I don't think they can, because all they can do is prove ignorance. And you can see him getting very frustrated there, where he goes, well, I guess you got me. And also capsize his case because they've given over phones that Jones actually claims he has multiple phones. He doesn't write any emails because he dictates it all to his assistants. And so he hasn't read any of the emails pertaining to Sandy Hook being mentioned, even though it's to the InfoWars address, which he doesn't have personal access to except through his team. And there's other phones other than the one that he did his personal search on.
So they're potentially using the evidence of other people's correspondence to dob him in regarding this
to the
whole thing.
InfoWars address rather than his personal address, which obviously the team
Oh, okay.
manages. Yeah. So, but because this was not properly vetted and they leaked all of the communications to the prosecutor can have a field day and just claim what they like.
So, once again, this is just my opinion. I don't want to prejudice anything or anything, but I apologise if this just looks like a complete kangaroo court to me.
Yeah, well, the predicate for it being that he defamed the victims of Sandy Hook is true.
Is true,
He
absolutely.
has apologised for that, so it seems now that the punishment actually outweighs the crime, in my opinion, and the administration of justice is more important than the person who's on trial or the crime that's been committed. And the administration of justice here is ideologically motivated, snide, and petulant. And it's an embarrassment for the American judicial system more than it is, in many respects, an embarrassment for Jones, who's already attempted to apologise.
And I've honestly here, Alex Jones just kind of looks like the victim to me of what's going on.
If you're going to try and come across as fair, you're not doing it in a very good way. Let's put it that way. So his mistrial motion on the grounds of insufficient provision of counsel and the fact that they didn't intend to file this was denied. If we just move quickly to the next article. So this just goes over some of the details, but it's the fact that the mistrial motion was shot down. In the next one as well, there's an interesting thing here. Alex Jones's ex-wife is looking to get litigious. So she said after he was involved in the January 6 hearings, another show trial, where he said, obviously, don't go into the Capitol, but they're still trying to indict him in some form anyway, that she's seeking access to a treasure chest of information, several years of phone records, thanks to the mess-up from Jones's attorneys. So she's trying to jump on the fact that Jones's attorneys have screwed up and leaked it all to the prosecution to then develop her own case in getting full custody of her kids back, which she lost. She says herself she lost at least the joint custody rights in her Twitter, but I can't find why, because it was only widely reported on as to why he lost the original full custody lawsuit in the first place, but it doesn't say why her arrangement. She's not very unhappy with the fact that she hasn't got the full custody. She says, I know the text and information on his phone will be evidence of all of the nefarious, truly conspiratorial things said between him and his employees in their plans to keep my kids from me. It's not even about my kids. It's about controlling me. So if we go to the next clip, Alex Jones's wife seems to be almost as unhinged as she is claiming he is, because there's this clip here where she's genuinely trying to claim that he wants people to eat their neighbors when he's just going off on that hilarious rant that's become a meme. We can just play this, John.
Is she really trying
I'm
to
starting
say?
to think about having to literally look at my neighbors now and going, am I ready to hang them up and gut them and skin them and chop them up? And you know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. When my babies come into the equation, I will cook your ass up so fast. And I'll tell them, oh, I killed a cow out back, baby. Here it is, because my babies ain't going to die for your crap, your failure. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready.
So in this
I'll barbecue your
hilarious
ass
hypothetical,
flat.
Yeah, exactly. It's
this hilarious hypothetical because of potential food shortages,
Yeah.
she's trying to throw out as an actual threat
It's a
to his neighbors. And can I just point out the glorious heroic camera angles they always manage to capture of
It's
Alex
incredibly
Jones.
cinematic.
I love it.
There's no wonder he's the focus of such memes. If we'd like to just revisit as well another one of Alex Jones's trials, his custody battle is hilarious. Alex claims that he forgot what grades his kids were in because he'd eaten a bowl of chili for lunch and had gastrointestinal distress.
And I mean, that would probably put your mind off, wouldn't it? You know?
Yeah. Apparently, he also was accused of being narcissistic and paranoid by the prosecuting lawyer in that case. Where, if we can just scroll down, John, they showed a video of him. Keep going. In his underwear. Yeah, there we go. Selling male vitality supplements. And apparently he said the FBI...
Do you not want to look like this glorious figure?
Well, when he was younger, he was actually in great shape.
Well, that's the
very
thing.
handsome.
You can still tell that he was a guy who has a fitness past. you
Yeah,
know.
well, he's still got the traps. He's just built like a bear now. I don't want to make eye contact with that photo. though.
Take your eyes off it, Connor. You were
Just captivated. I'll just leave that on screen for you for a few more seconds. You're welcome. Okay, I just thought we'd finish off with two hilarious clips from the trial, other than the struggle session going through. First one is Jones add a penny to the Alex Jones's right jar, I suppose.
One of the things you've been talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
You mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
the judge wondering if she should allow them to defame
One of the
her
things
employers.
you've been
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's no longer a conspiracy when we have Paedophile Island. And then one last one here. We won't go into it fully, but Owen Schroyer, when he was on the stand, the prosecuting attorney decided to pull up an article on his projector screen. As you can see at the top, it says Instahard.
Wait,
there.
what?
And so he decided to quiz him about whether or not it was a supplement they were selling. And so Owen Schroyer had to talk about male vitality supplements and their effects while under oath and on the stand.
Oh,
And the
okay.
prosecuting employee got very flustered, to which point I think he
The
should...
prosecutor's never heard of male vitality, I assume.
Well, I think he should, because, I mean, judging by that physiognomy, he clearly needs them. But if we can underscore here, it's obviously the fact that Alex Jones knows he has done wrong. The Sandy Hook shooting happened. It's an egregious tragedy that all those children have died, and he has apologized for the fact that he got this wrong. But it seems to be nothing short of a miscarriage of justice, that justice is not being carried out here in a fair and impartial and professional manner. The prosecuting attorney is sarcastic, the judge is an activist, and Jones looks like he's about to break down into tears. So I'm glad that the families of the Sandy Hook massacre are getting some form of justice, but I don't think they're treating Alex Jones very fairly, and all I can hope is this doesn't derail our one-man meme machine too much for our own enjoyment.
Alex has been through plenty. He always bounces back. That's one of the things you got to respect against him. I would say Alex Jones has been defamed as a clown for the past 20 or so years, when more often than not, everything he talks about has at least a grain of truth in it that's actually quite startling.
Well, not everything, clearly, judging by the lawsuit, but
Obviously not
but quite a-
everything,
but quite a few
most of
things-
what he discusses.
yeah, well, you know, the Silicon Valley elites devouring blood. Turns out that I wrote an article on LotusUsers.com about them being vampires, and
Which you should check out.
Yeah, shop.
Yes.
They're all evil.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the content we have on the site, such as this video, which is an interview with Edward Jacob Lang, or Jake Lang, a prisoner of January 6. You want to find out what else we're putting out on the website? You can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.